From Manipulated to Manipulator by the Khan. Introduction. It never feels good when you realize that you've been manipulated, especially on a larger scale. You feel like your entire worldview is being shattered. It is at this crossroads that you must make a choice. Either accept the reality you're in, embrace it, and act based on it, or start lying to yourself and finding excuses to keep your worldview intact. Most people choose the latter because it is easier and brings a sense of comfort, even if only temporarily. Once that feeling expires, they chase it again and again, spending their lives as pawns in other people's games. Master manipulators understand this reality very well. They know that if people are brainwashed enough, they will make excuses for them, saving the manipulators the effort of damage control. They rely heavily on this, preying on people's desire for comfort and their reluctance to challenge their worldview, no matter how much destruction it brings to their lives. They also know that only a few are brave enough to accept and embrace reality, and these individuals are the ones they approach with caution. Master manipulators recognize that within such people lies a beast. If awakened, it can turn into a lifelong enemy capable of destroying them. We live in a world filled with manipulation. Turning a blind eye to this fact will not protect you from it. It may bring temporary comfort, but eventually, reality will catch up with you, shattering your worldview and forcing you to confront an overwhelming accumulation of uncomfortable truths. The worst feeling of all is knowing the truth, yet choosing to ignore it. Luckily, we live in a world where choice plays a huge role in the human experience. Once you start exercising your ability to choose, rather than removing yourself from the equation, things will become clearer. You will shift from being a passive spectator to an active force. At this point, you must decide whether to reject manipulation and protect yourself from manipulators, fight back, or even become a player in the power game. The choice is yours, depending on the life you wish to live. Some will seek only the ability to recognize and resist manipulation, while others will use their newfound power to fight back and manipulate their rivals. Whatever you choose, always remember, you are part of the equation. Never deny yourself that power. Chapter 1. Recognize the manipulation. Manipulation is everywhere. Reflection. Ignoring something doesn't necessarily stop its power from existing or affecting you. From the simplest to the most complex, from the smallest and most fragile life forms to the strongest and mightiest, manipulation and deceit are common practices. Even in the most peaceful-looking plants, deception and trickery can serve as their most powerful tools. The same is true in stories of almighty beings, where manipulation and deceit occur on an entirely different level. As human beings, it comes as no surprise that we engage in these behaviors regularly. It is in our nature, our essence. Those who neglect this reality or try to run from it often find themselves outmaneuvered by others who embrace it. Manipulation is simply a tool, a form of energy. I like to use the analogy of a weapon. A weapon on its own, sitting on a table, neither harms nor benefits anyone. But in the hands of a user with intention, it can be wielded to hurt or to help. The same principle applies to manipulation. Understanding how it works can transform it into a beneficial tool, enabling you to navigate life more efficiently or protect yourself from being exploited by others. When you know how to counter manipulation, you expose the game being played and render it ineffective against you. Through simple experience in life, and if you're realistic enough, you'll realize that most people don't always do what they say. Many won't hesitate to manipulate others to achieve their goals. If you are unafraid of power dynamics and remain in touch with your essence as a living being, as well as the reality we inhabit, adopting manipulation as a tool is not difficult. With enough practice, using it skillfully becomes only a matter of time. The lies you tell yourself. Reflection. The lies we tell ourselves just to feel comfortable. You're manipulating yourself. Most of the time, people like to see themselves as the image they aspire to be, rather than the reality they embody. While viewing yourself through the lens of the high standards you've set for yourself can be beneficial, there's no denying that, another perspective must also be introduced, especially in the realms of power, strategy, and day-to-day interactions. This is the realistic lens, which allows you to see yourself as you truly are at the moment. It enables you to assess your current abilities, strengths, weaknesses, and shortcomings honestly. One common way people manipulate themselves is by creating a mental image of an idealized self, a version they use to deflect responsibility. This false image becomes a scapegoat for their failures and flaws, allowing them to avoid facing their reality. They often tell themselves, "I'm not usually like this," especially when they act in ways deemed bad or harmful. This behavior highlights a widespread issue. Most people rarely confront their darker side until circumstances force it to the surface. When this happens, they may feel terrified of themselves because they've never acknowledged or understood this aspect of their nature. This lack of self-awareness stems from not recognizing that every living being is capable of both stability and chaos, benefit and harm, creation and destruction. Until a person acknowledges and accepts these dualities within themselves, they remain vulnerable to being controlled by the very forces they've alienated. When these suppressed aspects inevitably surface, people tend to deny them further by saying things like, "That wasn't me. I don't know what came over me." True self-awareness requires fully recognizing and integrating all parts of yourself, including the aspects you may find uncomfortable or unpleasant. Once you make peace with this inner complexity and put it under conscious control, you can channel that energy into constructive endeavors, creative pursuits, or even strategic power plays when necessary. Without this integration, however, these forces will continue to influence your behavior, particularly on a subconscious level. Throughout history and mythology, the most powerful beings, often referred to as gods in various cultures, demonstrate this duality openly. These beings, considered among the highest forms of life, are not shy about revealing their darker sides. As the saying goes, God can be merciful, but God can also be punishing. This encapsulates a profound truth. Even the highest forms of life are subject to the fundamental essence of existence, balance between light and dark. The lies others tell you. Reflection. You have been lied to, you are being lied to, and you will be lied to. You have been manipulated. Always start with good intentions is incomplete advice that can do more harm than good. A more accurate principle would be, always start with the nature of life. This is the foundation of any interaction, whether between people or with other life forms. Since all life forms share the same essence, it's logical to begin with the understanding that every being is capable of both harm and benefit. Denying one aspect over the other blinds us, leading to skewed perceptions. We might see only the dark side of a person while ignoring their light, or vice versa, which impairs our ability to make sound decisions. While balance is crucial, most people are not energetically balanced. Some lean heavily toward harmfulness, with little light to offer, while others seem overly peaceful and bright, to the point of overshadowing their darkness. This tendency to extremes leads many to categorize people simplistically as harmful or beneficial, good or evil. However, such eagerness to label neglects the reality that people are subject to change. Someone peaceful today can bring chaos and destruction tomorrow. The only way to navigate the ever-changing currents of life is to remain vigilant and adaptable, always aware of people's potential to express both the light and dark energies inherent in life. Understanding yourself and the nature of life, whether through experience or other means of acquiring knowledge, activates a kind of internal framework. This framework serves as a constant reminder of life's duality, without requiring conscious effort, becoming almost like a reawakened sense. It enables you to enjoy the company of others without being blinded to the harm they could cause if their energy shifts. It also equips you to deflect attempts by individuals with dominant dark energy to prey on you. The key word here is deflect, not necessarily reject or cut ties. Such individuals may still be helpful to you at times. Whether to reject, cut contact, or simply deflect their influence depends on your aspirations and goals. Interactions with such people should be managed thoughtfully, balancing your awareness of their potential for harm with their potential to serve your purposes. Why manipulate? Reflection. The real question is, why not? A competitive space. In life, it doesn't take long to realize that most things are not what they seem, and many people live by the rule that the ends justify the means. If you're unable to deflect their attacks, protect yourself, fight back, or even initiate a strategic move, you'll quickly find yourself becoming a pawn, someone others use to achieve their own goals. Now, imagine you're working within an organization. As you climb the ladder, you'll soon realize that it's not just about aiming for a higher position and proving your worth to advance. You'll also need to protect the position you currently hold. The higher you climb, the more intense the competition becomes. You will start to feel the heat of the power struggle, and your work skills alone may no longer be enough to propel you forward. At this point, alliances and favors become highly valuable commodities. Some bosses may take complaints from lower-level employees seriously, but the higher up you go, the more is expected of you. You're essentially expected to handle challenges on your own. Complaining about someone playing a move against you might make you appear weak and incapable of managing yourself within the power structure. Worse, it could signal to others that you're not fit to climb any higher, as you're already struggling with the battles at your current level. This is where the ability to manipulate can elevate your game to a whole new level. The power to hide your intentions, plan 3 steps ahead, and craft a misleading image can be invaluable. By presenting yourself as someone who isn't a threat, someone who doesn't appear ambitious, you can avoid drawing the attention of competitors who are busy fighting among themselves. While they focus on each other, revealing their ambitions and leaving themselves vulnerable, you work silently and effectively. You make the right moves at the right times, and before they realize it, the person they didn't see as a contender, someone they underestimated, is suddenly the one closest to securing that coveted position of power. The heart of a manipulator. Reflection. Balanced hearts have always driven humanity to evolve, while overly bad or overly good hearts have always brought destruction. Appealing to the sense of guilt, shaming people for doing things you wanted to do, but didn't or couldn't, is a common habit rooted in human nature. It's a form of manipulation often called playing the victim card. This move is aimed at tapping into someone's empathy or sympathy, either to make them give up part of what they've earned or to leave them with a lingering sense of guilt that eats away at them. To make you vulnerable, people using this tactic create a carefully crafted image. That image is designed to trigger emotions like sympathy or guilt, lowering your guard and making you more susceptible to their words and, ultimately, their influence. The heart of an experienced manipulator, however, is balanced. It holds room for genuine compassion and sympathy, helping those who truly need it while remaining cautious of predators who try to fake this energy. Over time, they develop a sense for distinguishing authentic need from deception, relying on experience and intuition. When faced with these predators, they don't rush to conclusions or let themselves get swayed easily. Instead, they ask sharp, interconnected questions that slowly unravel the predator's story, exposing their real intentions. They didn't mean it. Reflection. People often do what they mean and say what they don't mean, one excuse after the other. Maybe they didn't mean it is one of the most overused excuses people make to protect the idealized image they've constructed about someone, allowing them to remain comfortable around that person. You often see people being manipulated, used and discarded when their usefulness is over, yet they continue to make excuses for others. They're blind to the fact that they're being viewed as disposable, and their energy reflects it. This energy is picked up by others, reinforcing that treatment. Our behaviors shape our mindset, which in turn influences our overall energy. This energy, often referred to as the aura, is a subtle presence that others can sense without fully understanding its source. While the term is commonly associated with individuals who exude confidence or awareness, it applies equally to those with low self-esteem or weak energy. People with such an aura may repel others, attract those looking to uplift them, or, in worse cases, draw in predators who seek to exploit their vulnerabilities. A person projecting signals of weakness is immediately sensed by others, and they're treated accordingly because their energy and behavior communicate it clearly. Looking at people through a realistic lens is crucial for dismantling the deception and manipulation you're subjected to, or for mastering manipulation yourself. The first step is to stop giving people excuses when they've left none for themselves. Only by doing so can you build an accurate picture of the reality in front of you and act based on the truth, not comforting illusions. Chapter 2. The Tools of Manipulation. Don't take yourself out of the equation. Reflection. The deadliest way to strip yourself of all power is to remove yourself from the equation. You can do something. Most people treat their life experience like a show where they sit back and watch events unfold, reacting in a limited way from a place of fear. When someone subjects them to manipulation or a power play, they freeze, confused about what's happening. They blame everyone else except themselves, removing themselves from the equation and denying any power they might use to fight back. In the world of manipulation, this mindset leads to inevitable doom. What you must remember is that as long as you are alive and conscious, you are part of the equation. This means your energy, your presence, and your actions matter. It means you have the ability to do something, to make an impact. Once you start recognizing this power and stop denying yourself the ability to play an active role, to be an actor, not just a watcher, new roads will begin to appear before you. In truth, those roads were always there, existing in the realm of possibilities. You were simply blinded to them. Boldness is key. Reflection. Appear hesitant, and people will start asking questions. The more questions they ask, the more they can see through your facade. Hesitation exposes your manipulation. People are naturally good at sensing hesitation, and the moment they detect it, they start asking questions. That is the last thing you need because questions expose things, or at least open room for interpretations. If people start putting effort into figuring out what you really mean, they will begin questioning your intentions. Like a row of cards, once one falls, everything follows. People are also naturally good at sensing confidence, and they are drawn to it. They can believe what a confident-looking person says, even if that person doesn't actually know what they're talking about. A good example is fake spiritual teachers and gurus who pretend to know every secret of this realm. They claim to have all the answers, and no matter what you ask, they'll respond with certainty. They present themselves in a way that makes everything look effortlessly done, elevating them above the average person. They are bold, speaking with a peaceful smile that leaves the average person no room for doubt. To put it simply, they have mastered the art of boldness. People are also naturally good at sensing struggles. If you try to carry something heavy and struggle with it, people will immediately recognize it. Admiration may not come your way. Instead, they will admire someone who makes the task look effortless. The same applies to those trying hard to appear confident and bold. People look at them with pity and don't take them seriously. On the other hand, they are drawn to someone who feels natural, genuinely confident. This is one of the necessary keys for a manipulation plan to succeed. Without it, everything falls apart. Constructed stories. The importance of a well-crafted story, most people think in terms of a construct we call a story. The people who know you have a story, they tell themselves about you. It begins with how they met you, how you've treated each other, the meaningful and impactful moments filled with emotion, and continues to the present moment, the new lines being added to the narrative. From this story, they extract the information they need, perhaps deciding to help you because you've been a good friend, or choosing to end the relationship because their memories of you are mostly unpleasant. A story contains a dense amount of information compared to a simple sentence, which has a clear beginning, end, and point with little depth. Everything in a sentence is laid out as it's meant to be, while a story engages the imagination, filling gaps and adding layers of meaning. This is one reason why master manipulators use stories to influence crowds and individuals. A compelling story gives people something to visualize, something that lifts them out of reality, leaving them vulnerable to manipulation and susceptible to influence. If you study impactful ideologies or religions, one recurring theme becomes clear. They rely heavily on stories. This reliance is a major reason they cultivate such dedicated followings. Most people naturally think in terms of stories, and the more people who share the same story, the more credible it becomes in their eyes, even if the story is entirely fabricated, off the radar. Reflection. If they can't detect you, they can't attack you or defend themselves against your custom-tailored attacks. It's hard to fight what you don't see. The ability to be unpredictable is something most people are born with, but often neglect to develop. Like any other skill, if you don't use it, you lose it. We frequently encounter the talker type, people who openly share everything they've done and everything they plan to do, essentially making themselves an open book for everyone to read. On rare occasions, the talker isn't genuinely a talker but pretends to be, deliberately spreading false information to mislead others and protect themselves. However, in most cases, that's not what's happening. The less people know about you, the harder it is for them to plan against you. When others are uncertain about your next move, you gain an advantage, operating on a higher level, or, as I like to call it, at the top of the food chain. You become a force capable of delivering unexpected blows, catching everyone off guard. To develop this skill, you must start gradually, especially if you're naturally a talker. Sudden changes in your patterns can draw attention, prompting people to scrutinize you and try to figure out what's different, leading to unnecessary interference. What you need is a smooth transition. Begin by slowly withdrawing from the habit of oversharing while simultaneously learning to control what you reveal and what you withhold. This is essentially about mastering the flow of information you give to others through your words. It's equally important to distinguish between spoken and acted information. Your behavior is just as significant an indicator of your intentions as your words, so learning to manage both is crucial to becoming truly unpredictable. To achieve a balanced state, you must avoid a critical mistake that many people make when trying to go off the radar: the complete shutdown. Completely withdrawing alienates you from social circles, and that's the last thing you want. Instead, you should occasionally engage in conversations that reinforce the image of being just what you appear to be: a regular person with a normal routine, going through life like everyone else. Beneath the surface, however, you maintain the freedom to construct your plans and execute them, ensuring that most people won't see them coming. Intelligence through socializing. Reflection. People talk, and they will keep talking. Learn to use it to your advantage. Gather valuable information that you can use when necessary. Destruction from within. Now, knowing the importance of staying in social circles and avoiding the mistake of alienating yourself from them, you unlock the ability to gather information about others. Many times, when socializing with a group of people, you'll hear about a problem someone is facing or an achievement they've made. This can be a highly valuable resource, as many people don't realize how to piece this information together. By applying mental image-building techniques, you can start constructing an accurate representation of the terrain you're operating on and the players within it, enabling you to strategize and make informed moves. One of the most commonly used strategies in intelligence operations worldwide is infiltrating social circles. This method allows for gathering vast amounts of information from multiple people or sources in a relatively short time. The same approach can be adapted to corporate environments, political settings, or virtually any social scenario. Its effectiveness depends on the social skills, influence, and strategic mindset of the person executing it. Within these circles, you can identify the weaknesses of opponents or potential threats. Many people freely share details about their strengths, weaknesses, current struggles, or accomplishments. If one day they decide to target you, you won't be left wondering how to respond. With prior insight into their character, you'll be able to craft a plan tailored to the situation. Some individuals can be destabilized simply by targeting their insecurities, which often throws them off balance. Similarly, if you choose to take action against someone, your knowledge of their vulnerabilities will grant you the advantage. This awareness gives you greater freedom and flexibility when planning your approach, ensuring you remain several steps ahead. Appear weak to deliver the blow. Reflection. Vulnerability is often masked by blind confidence. Learn to use it to your advantage, and you can turn the predator into prey. You never see it coming. The tactics and strategies manipulators use are diverse, but they all share identifiable patterns that you can learn to recognize. One common pattern is that some people will appear as harmless as possible, only to catch you off guard. Before you know it, they've left you in shock, paralyzed, as they execute their plan to destroy you. Sometimes they maintain this harmless facade until they secure the position of power they've been quietly striving for, finally revealing their long-concealed hunger for dominance. Appearing weak or harmless is a tactic frequently used by both people and animals. For example, some animals play dead, feigning vulnerability, until a predator approaches to feed on their corpse, only to find themselves caught in a carefully crafted trap. The same strategy is used by power players who deliberately appear weaker than they truly are to assess another person's character or to lower their guard, allowing them to strike when least expected. While feigning weakness to deliver a decisive blow can be an effective strategy in certain situations, it should not be overused. Constantly appearing weak will attract predators, and there are only so many you can fend off at once. This tactic is particularly useful in environments where people don't know much about you. In such places, you can present yourself as harmless while building a strong foundation for your power. Once established, you can emerge from your shell with confidence. However, in environments where you are already known, it's often better to act according to your established reputation. A strong reputation serves as a shield, making others think twice before challenging you. This protective layer minimizes potential attacks, saving you time and effort in the long run. Reputation goes a long way. Reflection. Your reputation is your icon on the radar of other power players. It can be a source of tension and fear when it shows up on their radar. Craft your reputation carefully, as it does most of the work for you. The invisible shield. The more powerful you become, the harder it is to stay under the radar, especially the radar of other powerful players. As you grow stronger, that blip on people's radar becomes your reputation. Your reputation can make people think twice before crossing you, or it can make you a desirable target. This is why you need to be extremely careful about the reputation you build. When building a reputation, think of it as the highest standard you set for yourself, the principles you hold yourself accountable to. It might be pursuing your goals with relentless determination, but your actions must reflect this. If you're a realistic person, you'll see yourself through the lens of your actions. Trust me when I say that other power players will pay close attention to what you do. Your way of life becomes your reputation, and it's something you will have to live with. We all know what a lion is capable of when we see one, just as we know the strength of a bear at a glance. Now ask yourself, what do you see when you look in the mirror? What do you recognize when you reflect internally? And, just as important, what do others see when they look at you? Be mindful not to let others shape how you see yourself or dictate your journey. Resist the urge to appeal to everyone. Let your reputation reflect your unique energy, and let it stand as a testament to who you truly are. When to manipulate. Reflection. Knowing when not to engage is just as important as knowing when to engage. Easy doesn't mean effective. The easy path is often tempting for most people, and there's no shame in that. Temptation is a natural part of life. However, Resisting such temptations and stepping away from them is where many fail. Once someone learns a particular skill, they may overuse it, leading to their downfall from the realm of power. When your game has been observed, exposed, and understood by others, you become a vulnerable target. Too much of anything, more often than not, isn't good. When you master an effective way of manipulation that fits your life flow and lifestyle, it's easy for it to become second nature. This is the trap you must avoid. The last thing you want is for your tools to control you instead of the other way around. Think of your abilities as an arsenal, and within it, there's a tool called manipulation. Use it only when the situation calls for it, and when it's truly suitable. Being known as a master manipulator might sound impressive, but such a reputation comes with significant downsides. For instance, individuals with whom you could build strong, mutually beneficial relationships, whether in business, politics, or other fields, might avoid you altogether. They may not trust you and would instead seek out a more balanced player, someone who is in control of their tools and unlikely to sabotage themselves in the long run. You are only as powerful as your tools, but beware. If you allow them to control you, they will inevitably lead to your downfall. You're blind. Reflection. Act blind when you can see. I'm not aware of your game. Acknowledging your awareness of the game being played against you the moment you recognize it internally is crucial. But making it known to the people conspiring against you isn't always the right move. Many times, it will strip you of the time necessary to make a move against it, and will give those conspiring against you the chance to change their approach and strategy. It can also allow them to create defenses because they now expect your attacks. It is crucial to know that every situation is different and requires a unique approach. If the situation calls for letting people think you are unaware of their game, so be it. Appearing ignorant of the game being played against you will grant you time to strategize and gather more intel about the conspirators while filling them with false confidence, believing they are still operating in the shadows. However, be aware that sometimes a little bit of confidence is all people need to deliver a fatal blow. If you haven't planned 3 steps ahead, your defense, your counterattack, and your decisive strike, you may face severe consequences that could be impossible to recover from. In the world of manipulation, I always say, timing, timing, timing. No more enemies. Reflection. Beware when creating enemies. Sometimes you create the very thing that will destroy you. The last thing you need. It's always exciting when you develop new skills. You feel like putting them to the test every time you get a chance. But in the realm of power, everything has consequences. The person you offend today can become your worst enemy tomorrow. It is important to choose your battles wisely and focus your energy in the right places. Unfortunately, for many people, once they figure out what makes others tick and how to get what they want from them without considering the long-term consequences, they end up abusing their new skill. This creates enemies everywhere. And, as I said, in the realm of power, everything has consequences. It might be a simple interaction with someone who just needed one reason to begin their villain arc. Congratulations! You've become their first target, the thing they blame for everything bad that has happened to them. They will come after you with everything they have. To you, it might have been just another person you manipulated and forgot about. But to them, it's a defining moment. They won't rest until they get back at you. It could be weeks, months, or even years before they resurface, long after you've forgotten about them. Suddenly, they'll come at you full steam. If you're already in the middle of ongoing battles, the more enemies you accumulate, the more likely you are to go down. That's why it's extremely important to use manipulation only with people who are already in the game, those who know the rules and can either move on to the next battle if they lose against you, or those against whom you can deliver a decisive blow, ensuring they never think of approaching you again. And always remember the wise saying, "With great power comes great responsibility." Chapter 3. Traps are everywhere. Avoid the crowd's soul reflection. If you're not the leader of the crowd will devour you and use your energy to fuel itself. You lose yourself in a crowd. Throughout history, crowds have been easy targets for manipulators who exploit ideologies, religions, social situations. Once a person becomes involved with a crowd, they slowly begin losing their sense of individuality. Eventually, they may act as part of a collective whole, doing things they would never consider if they were on their own. This loss of individuality equates to losing power, and in the realm of power, that often means death. Controlling a crowd through manipulation is one of the fastest ways to make significant moves in a short period. These moves, however, may not benefit the crowd being manipulated. Often, the people involved don't realize this until it's too late. Some of the biggest movements in history became sources of deep regret years later. Once you're part of a crowd, going against it can be dangerous. The collective can consume you for energy, fueling their rage or movement further. That's why it's usually best to avoid getting involved in such situations unless you are the one making the decisions. Otherwise, you risk being a pawn in someone else's game, one that likely does not have your best interests at heart. Take losses. Reflection. You can lose a battle, but still win the war. Bitterness will kill you. In the realm of power, you won't win every time. That's a fact. The sooner you accept this truth, the freer you will become. Otherwise, the prison of bitterness may consume you, and some people never manage to escape it. What truly matters in the realm of power is the end result. You can lose a battle, but still win the war, and emerge victorious if you know how to take your losses, learn from them, and move forward without repeating the same mistakes. Sometimes, recovering from a loss requires significant time, especially if you've lost the war. In extreme cases, it could mean the literal end of your life in an armed conflict, or the end of your career if you're a politician. Politicians often fight battles until their opponent is completely discredited in the public eye, or until a deal is struck that satisfies both parties. Such deals may not align with your original goals, but they are often better than losing everything. In the realm of business, the stakes can be more forgiving. People love a redemption story just as much as they love watching someone fall. It's like a gripping drama. That's why it's crucial to accept these realities. They come with the territory. In the realm of power, you may rise to great heights, or you may lose it all. If you're willing to take the risks, then the game is on. If not, it's better to stay away. The higher the reward, the greater the risk, and the more lethal the competition becomes. Set clear targets. Reflection. Shoot aimlessly, and you will end up wasting your inventory. Beware of creating a lifetime battle. Setting clear targets is a crucial component of any successful manipulation plan. It helps draw a line on where to stop and when to withdraw if things don't go as planned. A lot of people make the mistake of not setting their targets. Sometimes they are in a battle against another power player, and they win that battle with the recognition of their victory by their opponent. Failing to recognize that it was just a minor battle in the grand scheme of things, they keep going at it, not for any logical reason, but because the taste of victory is sweet, and they want more. In pursuing that feeling, they keep targeting the opponent they just defeated. Now, the opponent, who was willing to take the loss and move on to other projects, recognizes your new territory and, after retreating to the safety of their empire, is now coming at you with everything they have because they have been cornered and pushed to the limit, declaring an all-out war. At that moment, the winner realizes they would have been better off stopping. But withdrawal is no longer an option because their opponent is coming at them with full force. Military personnel understand this principle best. They don't go around abusing their power by claiming every piece of land they can, because they know that taking land means protecting it, and protecting it requires resources. If they bite off more than they can chew, they risk stretching their military power too thin, leaving themselves vulnerable. This is why many wars end with negotiations. They take land, secure it, and use it as leverage. They understand the importance of having the upper hand in negotiations, knowing full well that they got what they came for. There's no need to push their luck further. Instead, they secure their gains and walk away. Unbreakable rules. In this realm we operate within, there are rules that govern our existence. Once an imbalance is detected, balance will eventually be restored, if you don't restore it yourself. This is a mini-manual for the tools of manipulation. You can choose to follow the manual or ignore it. Nothing is off the table. But if you do choose to follow it, your journey toward controlling the tools of manipulation, rather than being controlled by them, should be easier. Unbreakable rules. Don't expect mercy from other players. They will ruthlessly destroy you if given the chance. Avoid creating unnecessary enemies. Appeal to people's self-interest when you can. Don't take imagination out of the equation. Think of winning before losing, and think of losing before winning. Being blinded by one aspect will turn you into a pawn, not an active player. Most people fall into one of two categories: the manipulated or the manipulator. Take a step back. Observe. It's everywhere. Most people fall into two categories, but there is a third: the observers. These people can see through almost everything. They are extremely rare, as they have figured out how to remain unmoved by others and resist the temptation of playing the game. They want to live their own way. Avoid manipulating these people. They can start revolutions if pushed, and history is full of examples. Outro: in the world of manipulation, there is always something new to learn. This book is meant to be your introduction to the subject and a strong foundation to build upon through experience and learning from others by becoming a master observer. It is extremely rare for people to reveal their strategies, let alone teach them to others. This is where your ability to become an intense observer comes into play, using your lens of realism to analyze how people act toward you and one another. No excuses, no judgments, just observing and learning. How you apply the knowledge and tools from this book is entirely up to you and your aspirations. Life is full of possibilities, and everyone is different. Trying to guide you in a single direction would be like force molding you, which is something I have no interest in doing. I have provided you with the tools. Now, you must embark on your own unique journey. Always remember, Life is full of possibilities, and you are always part of the equation. About the author, I am a form of life. Life expands through me, and I expand through life. Names and appearances are a means to an end.